calling the Planning Commission meeting to order. Can I get a roll call?
Hurst. Lines.
Here.
Cox. Millerich. Hartranft.
Here.
Robler.
Here.
Steele. Dick.
Here.
Kusan.
I'm here. All right, there are some minutes in your packet from the meeting, August 4th. You guys have all taken the time to read through them. And,
Make a motion to approve.
Well, hang on.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question about something which is not wrong, but not mentioned here. And I think it's going to come up later as we discuss the unfinished business and the lighting standards.
okay.
So it's obviously not late, but I'm just going to ask briefly. So the consultant who took Adam's place last meeting, I can't recall her name. Caitlin, thank you.
Yep.
She and I had a really very good discussion about riparian rights for waterfront properties and issues that would go across the river and where the border of the applicable property owner's land is. At the end of that discussion, she very briefly said, and I don't know that it was really meant for everyone or perhaps anyone but me, she said these amendments to the lighting regulations do not apply to residential properties. Am I correct in remembering that? Because as I read them, they do. Under paragraph B of section 154.117, it says applicability, the standards in this section shall apply to any light source that is visible from any property line or beyond. Does not make a distinction as to whether or not that property border is zoned in any way, in, of any of the different zones available. So my question is, and I'm wondering whether or not it should be, we should bother to include it as a change to the minutes before we review and approve or disapprove them, whether that is true and whether or not it should be in the minutes. So I think you're probably the most qualified person to answer that.
Not being at the meeting last time,
Of
I
course.
can't say for sure what the conversation was. I would say, and we can discuss this under that agenda item as it comes up too.
Exactly.
The lighting requirements, for the most part, the lighting requirements are more designed for non-residential areas. But you're right that certain general standards are applicable across the districts.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We did bring that up, John, at the end, that I said that it's mainly going to be us educating the residents, but trying to get the businesses on board. And when that happens, then everybody will probably start following suit.
Well, I do remember that comment vividly, but the fact is that what's in black and white.
Yeah, absolutely, I get it.
Important.
But I do think we will have discussion on it today, so I don't think we have to change the minutes.
I would accept that.
Am
as long as we do.
I correct in that? Since we're going to bring it up in discussion today, we probably don't have to change the minutes to add that.
Especially if it was unclear.
I don't think it reflects in the minutes, so I think you're fine to go ahead with approval of the minutes, but I think for the discussion's sake.
The minutes as written, we could approve, and then we'll just add it to the discussion today.
I accept
Good with that? There was a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve as is.
Okay.
Support.
There's support in a couple spots. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right. Public hearing, special presentations. Item PC 08-25. This is the residence 208 Lindenwood Drive. They have a plan coming to us for review. Firearm sales, preliminary site plan, and special land use review. The info's in your packet, and Adam, take it away.
Mr. Chair, I can give a summary of this item. So this is a request that was submitted by the owner, Nick Bartold, who's here this evening, of 208 Lindenwood Drive. This is a property that's zoned R2, Single Family Residential District. The applicant is seeking to establish a firearms sales use, a home occupation that would be operated out of the home by the owner there. And according to the City of Linden zoning ordinance, the sale of weapons is listed as being an allowable special land use within the R2 district. The ordinance doesn't say anything other than sale of weapons, so it's not more descriptive than that. Obviously, this is a residential district, so presumably sale of weapons within a home. We do allow home occupations, but since they're looking to do firearm sales, the zoning ordinance kicks it up to the level of a special land use. State law requires any special land use to be accompanied by, in our case, a preliminary site plan here. And state law requires notices to be published and notices to be sent out to surrounding property owners, and the Planning Commission would hold a public hearing. So that public hearing has been scheduled for this evening. The Planning Commission, after the public hearing is held, opened and closed, later on the agenda, you can then deliberate on the item and you can make a decision. The Planning Commission has final authority here in the city for review and approval of special land uses. So essentially this would be, if approved, a home occupation at that location. There are no other standards or no specific standards for sale of weapons outlined in the zoning ordinance, but there are general standards for special land uses. So in order to be approved by the Planning Commission, the applicant would need to demonstrate, and you would need to find that the request is consistent with 7 special land use review standards, and I've got those listed in my staff report to you. So that's the procedure. That's why we're here this evening. I know the applicants are here as well, who can speak to their request. But if you have any questions for me at this point, I'd be glad to try and answer them before the public hearing is open.
Okay. Are there any questions for Adam? We want to hear from the applicant before we open public comment.
I have a question. Would you expand on your item number 7 under your recommendation? What are the intent and purposes of this chapter?
Yeah, so that's often a catch-all. So that's the standard number 7 for special land uses. Will be consistent with the intent and purposes of this chapter. So the intent statement is in the very beginning of the zoning ordinance, and that speaks to why zoning is allowed and why the city has established a zoning ordinance. And that's for health, safety, and welfare, well-being of the community.
Okay, fair enough.
Any other questions for Adam? Can I get the applicants to come up to the podium, give your address, and yeah, give us your spiel.
All right, so I'm Nick Bartold. This is my business partner, Paul. And so essentially what we're looking to do is open an online sports retailer like Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops. It's not just the online gun store. We don't do any point of sale out of the house. So under no circumstances can you go online, try and purchase a weapon of any kind, and then come to the house at Lindenwood and pick it up. Everything is done through FFL transfer locations, so other gun stores. Essentially, you go online. If you did want to buy a sporting rifle or something along those lines, you would have to pass a background check. It's all standard procedure there. And then we would drop ship. Everything is drop shipped. There's no inventory going in or out of the house. There's a warehouse that we work with out in Kansas. They would drop ship it to the nearest FFL transfer point. So that'd be like your local gun store, where then you'd go in and they would conduct a background check and all the required documents to do the sale there. So purely online, all ran from a laptop. I have no need for in-person business somewhere or a warehouse, so that's why I'm looking to do it online.
Any questions for the,
I have a question. I think you make the point in your description that ammunition is not included.
Yeah, there's no manufacturing of ammunition. You can purchase ammunition, but it is done through the same way, through the drop shipping.
And so there's no storage of ammunition. on
Correct.
site.
Yep, there's no storage of any inventory on premises.
Thank you. What about returns? How are returns, do they go through the same process at the drop ship?
Yep, so they go right back to the distributor, and then we would handle the dispute with the distributor.
No other questions?
all right. I do have, thank you, John. We'll get back to you. I'll call you back up in a bit. I do have one public comment card from Joyce Thor.
Gonna open your public hearing again.
Oh, stop.
Well, we have to open the hearing. Do I have to open it?
Yeah, make it official.
Might be a good idea.
Good idea, make it official.
7-Eleven, I opened the public hearing for PC 08-25.
I'm Joyce Thor, 309 South Main Street. I have no problem with legal gun ownership. I'm glad that they clarified that they won't have any of their merchandise on site. That's a bit reassuring. Question. This special use permit, if he moves, does that stay with the house? Case in point. Michigan Dance Studio required a special permit and was given it, and where I'm located, right across the street from a daycare center and right across from the dance studio, the congestion there was horrible. And to my understanding, that special use goes with the house. So whoever buys that house in the future, if they want a dance studio, it's okay. So maybe someone can clarify that. Am I in favor of this ordeal here? As long as there is not any traffic coming up and down the streets to pick up items in the middle of the night or whatever it may be. I just want to know if there's going to be some quality control over that, if the city is going to monitor this. But like I said, I don't have a problem with legal gun ownership. I am concerned if they were going to have their merchandise on site. That was my biggest concern. And when does this special use permit end? Does it end when they move, or does it stay with that house? Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, concerns, statements? Did we get any correspondence or anything? We're good?
No written correspondence received.
All right. So I will close the public hearing at 7:14. Do the little official gavel thing. All right, so we will get back to everyone involving that shortly. We're now in public comment, and this is for non-agenda items only. If there's anyone here that wants to speak on a non-agenda item, then you may do so now. I think that everyone is here for the same reason. We're moving on. Any communications?
No communication.
Moving on. Unfinished business, PC-06B-25, the site and exterior lighting standards discussion.
Planning Commission, this is a carryover from the last several months where we've been evaluating lighting standards within the city. We had, at your last Planning Commission meeting, a draft of potential zoning ordinance amendments. to section 154.117, that's our site and exterior lighting standards. This was prompted really by a citizen who was interested in this topic and expressed some concerns about wanting to control light and light trespass and glare and other kind of nuisances resulting from light and keep skies dark and things of that nature. And that resident also offered some example language, ordinance language, provided some examples of what other communities do, in particular like how other communities advertise and make people aware of the requirements. So based on those discussions and that information, we did evaluate and come up with draft language. I wasn't at the last meeting, but it's my understanding that generally the Planning Commission was okay with the language and deemed it ready for public review at a public hearing, and the public hearing is not tonight. We have not posted that or scheduled that public hearing yet. But one of the kind of outstanding questions is, should we keep the lighting requirements within the zoning ordinance, or should we consider moving them out of the zoning and put them into the general code of ordinances? One reason why that's important is that zoning ordinances are subject to non-conforming rules or grandfathering. So essentially any legally established condition which was established prior to the current rules or the amended rules taking effect are grandfathered in that they can continue. That's the zoning, that's state law, versus if it's in the general code of ordinances, then the grandfathering provisions don't apply. So we did consult with the city attorney. We also looked and just kind of dug into it a little bit more, did some more research on best practices there. And what I have found generally is if you create regulations and they work like zoning in that they create customized regulations, maybe depending on different zoning districts, meaning that in certain zoning districts you might have more stringent standards, in other zoning districts you might not have standards at all. That's really something that's reserved for kind of the whole kind of driver behind what zoning ordinance is. Essentially, it creates zoning districts and treats properties differently depending on what they're zoned. Essentially, that's what we're doing. There's a lot of lighting requirements in there. Many of them are dependent on whether it's a commercial district, non-residential, residential, and otherwise. So for that reason, I think it's best to keep them in the zoning ordinance. And I also looked at other communities. Do any of them? I was not able to find any example of exterior lighting requirements in the general code of ordinances. They're all in zoning, and that includes all of your essentially municipalities that are nearby. Fenton, Durand, Schwartz Creek, Brighton, Holly. It's all Howell. Same case, Grand Blanc, same case for these other municipalities. So certainly we can talk about any of the proposed requirements or the proposed amendments. And if you'd like to, ultimately we would just need your go-ahead to schedule a public hearing at a next opportunity. But I'm glad to go through any of the draft here, any questions or comments that you might have.
John, we're starting with you.
Okay. I'll be brief so I'm not just repeating myself, but under paragraph B of the section 154.117, it talks about applicability, and it says, I quote, "The standards in this section shall apply to any light source that is visible from any property line or beyond for the site from which the light is emanating." So that's a mouthful right there.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of its applicability. Good place to put it. I would like to know if that is explicitly and universally true and or more vulnerable to idiomatic exceptions. How does that work?
Yep. So with that subsection B, that is what the language says. And so essentially any other requirement that is within this section would be applicable unless there's a specific exception made.
Yeah.
So the definitions, there are no requirements in the definition section, but subsection D, light and glare from indirect sources. So that entire section would be applicable within residential areas. I don't see any exception made, so that's dealing with, for example, making sure that lighting or the glare from automobile or commercial or industrial vehicle headlights should not be directed onto adjacent property, particularly residential property. And then it talks about exterior doors. Exterior lighting from direct sources. So E, subsection 1. So in that case, here are some kind of nuanced requirements that might be applicable in certain areas versus others. So ground illumination, maximum 5-foot candles, 1-foot candle on a property line, except where it abuts a residentially used or zoned lot, then it's 0.1-foot candle. E2, that would apply. Maximum height of light standards of 20 feet. Item 3, the shielding. Shielded, directed downward. That would apply in all areas. E4, so that one is specific to certain districts, that provision about turning off lights in the evening hours. That's just for certain non-residential districts. Architectural lighting, largely that applies in any district. Window lighting. There's no exception there either. And then prohibited lighting. Yeah, so unless the language says otherwise, it's applicable throughout.
And as you talk about exceptions, is that in practice particularly different than the exemptions in the last paragraph of the bottom paragraph on page 3?
Right. So the exemptions are specific types of lights
Yeah.
that are exempted from any and all provisions of this particular section.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it the notion that streetlights are in there? I thought it was interesting because there was some discussion about who has jurisdiction over the street lamps themselves, the fixtures,
Right.
and the bulbs within.
Yeah. I had seen in a couple of the examples that I looked at that streetlights was one of the exemptions listed in other municipal lighting requirements, and I think probably just to be overly cautious or making it abundantly clear, even though technically I would argue that these lighting requirements that are applicable to private properties and not necessarily within public rights of way, we're just making it clear that streetlights are not subject to these requirements.
That's kind of redundant.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have any other issues. I think your summary about a soft approach can was appropriate, and I think it's worth repeating.
Well, for those that weren't here at the last meeting, and I don't remember, I read through the minutes at my lunch hour today, and don't remember if it's in there, but the original discussion that we had on this, we were going to use the majority of this, if adopted, to try to, number one, get some of the bigger businesses in town to take this on and start moving forward with this, understanding that it's, the implications of too much light, and that would trickle down into the residential zones and smaller businesses and things like that. So basically use it as an education thing, and we'll put it in the newsletter, the city newsletter, and on the website, and who knows, maybe they'll send postcards, I don't know, it's above my pay grade. But it's what we discussed, so we weren't attacking the residents to say, no, you can't have landscape lighting, and no, you can't have your garage lights on for security reasons and different things like that. It's mainly for, I don't want to really single a business out, but let's say a business that is closed at 6 p.m., but they still have their parking lot lights on full blast at 1 a.m. It doesn't make any sense. They're not getting the bang for their buck for having those lights on. Have a subdued advertising sign out there, and then shut the rest of your lights off. And that's mainly what this is targeting right now? Is it going to go to a phase 2 or B or whatever? Time will tell. But I think that was the initial discussion that we had. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yep, and we had talked about that, and I think, the education is gonna be an important piece, and that's how we'd like to get the word out about these and bring in compliance by telling people about these requirements, reminding them about these requirements.
There were some others examples shared
Yes,
that we could kind of pull from for education purposes.
Sure.
brochures,
Absolutely.
Brochures and
flyers.
stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Yep.
so we had kind of like,
Yeah.
thought we would take a similar approach.
Even hand out stuff at the schools if they're willing, and the kids can poke and prod mom and dad to read the information, whatever. So I get it.
So
Any
Sid-
other? Sorry, it's probably not a lot, but you know what I mean. Any other comments, questions, whatever? Do we want to?
So since this would be kept in the zoning ordinance, you would just need to direct us to schedule a public hearing at the next opportunity.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
Prompted by what you were saying. I think a soft rollout is appropriate, but I don't think it should be entirely toothless. What is the ramification if A and B simply can't agree?
Mhm.
And the regulation, the literature in the zoning ordinance is said to be enforced?
Mhm.
How?
Yeah,
Why?
Ultimately, I think that's the approach, right? We're gonna try and tackle it through education, but we have the ordinance in effect and it's an enforceable document. And ultimately, that's what we would do.
And it would be enforced if necessary, how?
I know what you're getting at. I think that
Yeah.
we need to know kind of how it's going to be enforced, and also the public needs to know, hey, if this is moving forward and you violate rule whatever,
Mhm.
if you get 3 strikes, somebody's gonna come knocking at your door and possibly give you a fine. Now,
Mhm.
again, this is just an example, not saying that's going to happen, but it's what we're kind of looking for. Is what's going to happen if, the 3-step program doesn't work? Do they get 5 steps then after they get a nice certified letter in the mail? Do they, what happens?
Mhm. So, Ellen, you can, talk from your perspective. From my perspective, in the enforcement team that we would have, we're not actively driving around looking for complaints, but we certainly receive complaints on occasion. And so if it's in particular for non-residential areas, one of the easiest things we would do is we get a complaint about, a business. We might go back to the originally approved site plan, find out what was approved at that location, compare it to what might be in place right now, and we can easily say, hey, this is the fixture that was approved. What happened to the downward directed? Now you've attached a floodlight on that lamp. That's one way to do it. If necessary, we could invest the time and effort. That would be a city council decision to buy equipment that can actually measure lighting. But we can also tackle it through other means. You can take a photo at night, and if it truly is glare, we just address it that way. Usually our approach is to send either to contact that person by phone or email or by letter, explaining the provision, explaining kind of what was noticed, and then asking them to have a discussion with us and let's talk about solutions. Usually that letter would say, if you don't contact us, or if we don't see any different or change or resolution within a certain amount of time, usually it's 30 days, then we have the right to then enforce through ticketing in that way. So that would be a civil infraction.
So
Ultimate-
ticketing would be the ultimate.
Civil infraction. Yes.
Ultimately,
Mhm.
we're complaint-based
Yeah.
for majority of our enforcement. Ultimately, it would be up to council, what type of a heavy hand they would want us to take with this approach. From the conversations that we've had leading up to this, it was more of a education, compliance, more structured that way, that we weren't gonna take a hard, fast approach to this. So, I think that would be my recommendation moving forward, because I think it's the education piece of it's gonna be huge, you know, because people relate, light with safety, and especially in neighborhoods and things like that. So I think it's gonna be more of a soft approach than more of a heavy-handed approach. That makes sense. So,
And at the risk of asking you to repeat yourself, because this would be part of the zoning regs,
Yes.
how does grandfathering affect a change?
Yeah, so if there is a complaint about a commercial business, for example, that the lighting levels are too high, we would verify with that site plan, hopefully we can find that site plan on file, determine what was approved, and if they're within the approval, they are, in that sense, grandfathered, even if their approved lighting levels are different than our maximum lighting levels that might be part of this amendment, or that are on the books right now.
Yeah.
They would be held to the site plan approved levels. And that's what grandfathering is all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a number of the locations, in fact, I dare say all of them, that were mentioned by the complainant
Mhm.
a number of times that he's been here, that are existing businesses that go back a while.
Mhm.
I think they have a reasonable expectation to be here
Mhm.
for at least that much longer. And they could fairly and reasonably and legally say, we're grandfathered in, we're not changing anything.
Possibly.
And there's nothing we could do about that.
Mhm.
That would not make the gentleman who made the initial presentation that started this whole ball rolling real happy.
I think there was an understanding, though, that it was more about new new businesses that this would be more applicable to, and that the other side of it, those that are grandfather, would be more of an education, you know, getting them to see the value
Yeah.
in the changes and encouraging them to maybe take, you know, that leap on their own. But
And I think that's a great hope. But all of the examples that were given by the complainant were existing, not fear of future.
It's also possible that they've, you know, especially with lighting, it's not hard to change light fixtures when you go higher. They could have snuck it past us, and, you know, without knowing, or maybe just unintentionally, they changed it, they didn't realize that they were held to a particular standard, and that's something that we can investigate at least. But yeah,
Well-
even having the conversation brings us the opportunity to say, hey, can you be a good neighbor here? You were called out, you know, is this really necessary? And we'll see where that conversation goes.
Mr. Chair.
But this is the way it is.
Yes, sir.
That's
If
the
I
law.
You may.
Mr. Arterano, the complainant addressed a bunch of businesses that have site plans, and he was pretty much, in his opinion, they were out of compliance with their site plan. Because we have a 0-foot candle tolerance at the lot line, and he's saying, you know, it's bright as day over here on a lot of them. And the only way to go where you want to go, John, is to go to the general ordinance. And I can tell you right now, city council
Yeah, I know.
isn't gonna,
No,
it probably isn't gonna do that.
I'm not trying to.
We gotta start baby steps.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make the rule book any thicker. And I think your point is right. I would feel more comfortable if we could at least take a look at what and this.
Well, that's why I addressed the complaint, and he's actually never made a formal complaint with the city for us to address any of these. He's just brought them up in general as
Yep.
references. And I've asked him to make the formal complaint, because I know one of them is the dentist office right at the 2 doors down from the Bartol's property. You drive down Main
Yeah.
Street, it's shining right in your face. You know, it's,
Well, I'd like to see the possibility investigated, and it would be no more than a couple of phone calls, find out what a legally qualified photometric measuring device would cost that would hold up to an argument. Other than that, no other questions.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
One other thing, I think tied to what you guys have said, moving forward, can it be very clear at that public hearing that this is, like, those intentions? and the fact that it is a educational piece on one hand, and businesses going forward logic, as opposed to, because you're gonna get people, we're gonna get people that are not going to inherently realize that. That businesses under the zoning ordinances are grandfathered in from their site plans, and that you're accountable for what you agreed to. So if that part can be clear.
We'll certainly need to make it clear as a preface or introduction to the public hearing. It's hard to make it clear in a notice, a legal notice, because
Right.
they're pretty short and to the point.
I have one other question for you. Do any of these potentially, I think the answer is probably no, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Any of these changes potentially hinder businesses' desire to come to town? I'm gonna guess the answer is no. It seems pretty minimal, but by that, in that context, but
I don't think lighting is a make or break.
okay.
Is in they will or will not come to our community because of the lighting standards. If they want to be here, they'll comply.
Okay. Thank you.
I do think it was stated before that our standards will be kind of up to the same standards as the surrounding communities.
Yeah.
So if they want to do business in this area, it's not going to hurt them at all to do it here. You just have to be welcoming and good neighbors. So, anything else? Do we want to move forward?
Good.
All right, we can go ahead and move forward with that and plan the public hearing for that. All right. So, new business, and this is PC 08-25, the 208 Lindenwood Drive Firearms Sales Preliminary Site Plan and Special Land Use Review. We are back to the business.
So I don't know if there's anything else that you'd like to discuss with this item. Again, you'll want to refer to the 7 standards for special land uses. The applicant also has provided a little bit of an explanation of their business in writing. They've also supplied a plan for the property that shows no exterior changes to the property in any way. And yeah, if you have any other questions for me, let me know.
Sure. For Adam,
Yeah.
the question asked earlier during the
Oh, yes.
discussion, does it
Yeah.
come with the land or
Yeah, great question.
it wasn't mine?
Great question. Yes, you are absolutely right. A special land use, once approved, runs with the land. Any future property owners who would want to pick up that same business, and as long as they're complying with the same conditions of approval that might be made by the planning commission, can continue to operate that special land use.
Yep.
So related to that, I understand that they're not doing any in-person sales, but if somebody else were to take ownership of that property, would they be able to do that? Or would they only be able to do the online sales that they're
Yeah.
proposing?
So I guess 2 things. If that was made, if you wanted to make that a condition of approval, then you ought to explicitly say that, and so that's a part of the record. And then yes, that would be the case. Any future property owner would be held to those same conditions or standards. The other thing I'll say as well, and I think Nick confirmed this too, that any future property owner who wants to operate weapons sales would need to secure a federal firearm, type 1 federal firearms license. I'm not sure, I doubt that's transferable.
So you need a ATF and FBI to give you clearance.
So they would, that's not our rule, that's federal firearms rule. So that new property owner would have to secure a new license through the ATF. but they would not have to secure a special land use license through the city as long as they kept to the standards that you attached to it.
Gentlemen, can you come up to the podium, please, just in case there are any questions for you? There might be a couple. I just want some clarification. The applicant is Nick,
Yes,
and the property owner is Brian.
yes.
Why the difference?
So
I
currently.
think I know the answer, but go ahead.
Yep, so that's my brother, Brian. I currently live with my parents at 325 Coyote Run in Holly. It is my intention to move in there with him originally. We were supposed to do this house together as a bit of a renovation. But right now, Coyote Run is just not a stable address for me. Parents are retired, they're looking at moving. I also move around a bit. So essentially, I'm looking to get approval here, then I will continue to move into the 208 address. If I am denied though, I am gonna seek housing in a city that does let me operate this business. So it's just purely because it's not a stable address for me in Holly, and Linden. I know my brother's gonna be there for a long time, so it's a great place to register that for me.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
I have a question for him.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
So, is the special use permit, the special use exception, let's say, would it apply only to the retail brokering of firearms? Or would it be any mercantile operation of a similar nature? And how similar does it have to be?
The special land use is for the sale of weapons.
Okay,
So a future owner could not come in and say, well, I don't want to sell weapons, I want to sell t-shirts. No, it's the sale of weapons is what the approval is for. That's the way that the ordinance
okay.
language is.
Chair, I'd like to propose a couple conditions for discussion.
You wanna make a motion with those conditions?
I can, or we can discuss them first.
Okay.
Otherwise,
You guys good with discussing them first? I'm good with that.
Well, let's discuss it first and then.
I figured, so, you know.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
What do you got?
No inventory on property. No transfers, which means they can't take a firearm in or out.
Unless it's
Online,
personal.
right, online sales only. I mean, that limits them. You don't have a storefront at the front door then.
Yeah.
And that even if it travels with the property, it takes care of all the restrictions.
Yep. Are there any other stipulations or things you guys would like to see added? That's,
Well, let me just add that since there is no storage and or delivery of actual hardware, I don't think it makes any sense to try to over-define what a firearm is, which we could go down a big rabbit hole doing that.
yeah.
But as long as the actual stock never hits the house, it doesn't really matter,
Yep.
as I see it. Does that make sense, Adam?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, and parts, pieces, fully assembled, doesn't really matter, as long as there's no inventory travels to or from that house, we're good,
Yeah,
at least in my opinion.
yeah, I agree.
That makes sense?
Well, if we're good with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve with the conditions that there's no inventory, sort of house, no transfers are done from the present premises, and online sales only.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, there is a second. We will probably need a roll call vote, just to cover our behinds.
Roebuck,
Yes.
Hartnett,
Yes.
Hassan,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
Lyons,
Yes.
That's it? All right, thank you, gentlemen.
I do have a quick, I have 2 questions.
Sure.
So I did get in the last 3 days some emails regarding some fees here for the site use permit. And I guess before I get into that, I do kind of want to piggyback off of her concern. With the special land use permit, what is the process of getting that removed for if I ever do move addresses? Because I definitely don't want that exact situation to happen where somebody could come in and just free range to do what they want. I don't think that's fair to the neighbors. So, what would be the process of getting that removed?
There is no process. It runs with the land. And so unfortunately, you've given future property owners that privilege
Okay.
by applying.
All right.
Second thing is, please forward that email to the city. We're aware of some pretty interesting spamming going on of city emails, mining application forms, agendas,
Okay.
and probably AI crafting some pretty tricky emails asking for money and payment.
Yeah, because I have.
You have paid in full. You do not owe the city any money right
So I do not owe you guys $29,000.
I mean, if you want to make a donation.
You guys, I don't know if you guys want these, but these are like,
Yeah, they're pretty.
all of your guys' info on.
Yeah, it would be appreciative if you don't mind sharing. that with us.
Absolutely, I would give them all. of these over
Without
to-
forwarding the email, though.
Yeah, don't forward.
If you really look closer at those emails, though, you'll notice that it's not legitimate
Okay.
Linden email addresses. Apologize.
No problem.
I would make a joke, but I don't want the lawyer to come back and yell at me for making jokes up while we're in an official meeting. But thank you, gentlemen, and good luck with with your business plan, and I hope it all works out.
Thank you so much.
29,000. I'm surprised you guys showed up.
Did you get the email address that it came from? Like, it'll have the official name in there, but the actual email address will not be official.
It's like linden.com.us or something like that. Linden.us, lindenus.com or something.
All right, I think we can move forward without you guys, so we are.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's,
so-
yeah.
So department at City of Linden, Michigan, USA.com is not, that's not Linden's email.
All right, that gives me a sign of relief for sure.
New business. It is the PC 09-25. It is the Beacon and Bridge no left turn sign discussion.
So we brought you a couple pictures here. We've been working admittedly with B&B for too long to get some of the site plan things that were originally approved into compliance. This second no left turn sign to the right of the driveway was recently installed at our prompting. And now apparently it's caused an issue with the adjacent property owner. I think the second picture shows it. Where that sign is located is where the planning commission approved it per the site plan. Sometimes when you see it out there, reality kind of hits you like, oh, I don't know about that. So you can see it's at the end of a parking space that's used by the hotel next door. And it is in a pretty precarious position, probably is in prime candidate for a knockdown at some point. I don't really know. We didn't really know. We're bringing it to your attention. We're looking for your thoughts or advice. It's only been there for a couple weeks, really.
So this was kind of prompted by Adam and I trying to get the site plan wrapped up with B&B. So they placed it, sometimes in reality, the site plan, once it's, in play in the field, does it still make sense? Is it still applicable? So there has been some question with that area between the two property owners. I actually took this picture, but if I'm exiting that driveway, the one that's gonna be more visible to me that I'm gonna notice the most is gonna be the one on the left-hand side, right? I'm probably not gonna be paying attention to that one on the right side, but for the sake of the conversation and to just try to wrap this up and, we wanted to bring it back to you guys to see what your thoughts were. Does it still make sense? Do we still need to, force them to put it?
Keep it? Yeah.
Could something be painted instead on the driveway or on the entrance? Because that's actually a 2-lane, right? Like, I mean, I actually think, I get what you're saying, Alan. But I'm thinking if I was actually driving, I'd be in the rightmost side. I might actually look at the one on that side.
You can't see that one on the wall.
Because I'd be over and not assuming.
What do you mean you can't see the one on the wall?
When you're driving out of there, it doesn't catch it at all.
If you're all the way on the right-hand side and a vehicle's coming in on your left,
It doesn't catch
you're
it.
not paying attention to the sign, you're paying attention to the vehicle, because that drive is fairly tight. So, yeah, I didn't see the sign on the left the other day. I agree that I think it should be painted on the concrete. And I thought that was part of the original plan. I think the sign that's on the right-hand side, I thought the only reason why we put that there is because there was going to be the remediation equipment on that side. When, like that garage or whatever they were gonna put up, or that mobile trailer to do the remediation testing and all that.
That's in the back
Yeah,
of the
that's back.
parcel.
I thought that was going to be on the side originally.
Back to the 3
Yeah, I know where it
parking-
is now,
Well, that's
but-
where the 3 parking spots that they have on the back.
Yeah.
That's what the remediation trailer was supposed to be using in those parking spots.
Okay,
Right.
so. I mean,
Yeah.
we probably don't have to have them take it down. I'm sure a vehicle will take it down soon enough. But-
It's in a pretty precarious position there. It is.
Yeah.
But we don't want that situation to happen
Yeah,
either.
correct.
Another alternative is, I don't know, we'd have to talk to DPW about moving it closer to the street, maybe in the streetscape there. Looks like there's possibly on the other side of the sidewalk.
I think then you get into a safety concern of people riding bikes or skateboarding or doing whatever, hitting that sign and possibly going towards the street instead of staying in the safe zone.
Yeah, like I said, we would need to talk to the DPW about that.
Yeah.
Is the opposition to stripe, like painting it, back to the stripes, doing something like painting it, like I'm thinking of like how you see on the highways now where they paint? Because another thing that I don't know how much people realize, because I've gone, when I leave this gas station and I'm in that rightmost lane, people will take that turn really wide coming off of Broad. Like, I don't know that everybody realizes that that's meant to be 2 lanes. I'll see people when I'm trying to turn in there, people driving right in like the middle of, it's like it's not, I don't know if it's inherently clear that it's
Like the person taking the picture.
correct. Right, well, I mean, yeah, so like, it just seems like some basic striping would help with no left turn.
I'll be, in all fairness to the applicant, what we're bringing forward to you guys tonight is the sign specifically, not adding additional. I don't think that's fair to the applicant. We were trying to button up the site plan. I think we're just trying to get determination on this specific location and the sign. Because for us to now go back to them and say, hey, we know that your original site plan did not have approval for striping or some type of indication. I mean, I don't know that that's fair to the applicant at this point.
Well, the other issue at hand though is, that may not even be their property.
Well, and that's not for us.
That's not for us.
That's not for
But
us.
I mean, we can't
Correct.
tell them to put a sign there.
Correct, so there's
Yeah.
a little bit of other stuff I think I indicated at play here, and that's why we're not really sure too, and it's just a poor location, I'll just be
Yeah.
very honest, it is a poor location, and from my opinion, when I've driven out of there several times, I'm not paying attention to that one on the right, at all. I'm paying attention to the one on the left, and maybe it's just because of me, and I already know the situation there, but I don't know. I just would like you guys to talk about and determine that specific sign. I don't think it's fair for us to add additional. And we talked to the owners and they said, listen, we're willing to do whatever you need us to do with that sign, you just need to let us know.
Mr. Chair, the one reason we didn't have them put a pork chop in there directing everybody to the right was because they had to get their gas tanker to turn out of their
Yeah.
left. And that was the only reason we didn't have them put a pork chop in there.
Yep.
An actual curb that
Right,
forces
actual
you to
curb
go
that
right
forces
to the
you.
right.
Like the one at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Right.
That we
Exactly.
forced them to turn right over.
I mean, if they got a bunch of yellow paint out and painted a yellow pork chop there, I don't know if it helped. But, I mean, we gave them a break to do that.
Yeah.
Understood.
I think it
And they
could
don't,
be,
I can out, you know, I can, if they wanna start arguing with us, we can go, I can take pictures like 6 times a week where their tanker trucks delivering during the day. outside of
They're
site
not the
plan.
ones that prompted this.
No.
Yeah.
I
No,
talked with
I
Adam,
right.
and I'm the one that's bringing it to you guys because of the situation that's kind of playing out, so just trying to get some clarification. And let's just apply some common sense, I feel like, you know, because this is not practical.
So can I ask, so, I may have missed this part, but like, so if that is where it was in the site plan,
Yeah.
and it's on Beacon and Bridges property.
It's in contention.
Per the site plan.
For the site plan, for the site plan.
It's in contention.
And if you pull up the site plan, they've had the parking lot has been restriped and stuff and reestablished. In the original site plan, I don't know, it looks,
maybe a little bit.
I think
Yeah,
Okay.
the site plan gives it a little bit more room on the south side of the sidewalk before the parking space started. It doesn't show, the site plan didn't show that parking space to essentially use all the way to the south edge of the sidewalk. If you look at the site plan, which is included in your packet, it shows probably, I don't know, 3-4 feet from the edge of the parking space to the side, to
So
the
was
side.
that extra parking spot put in there?
Possibly, or maybe wider, or it was just not measured correctly.
And who is it that has the issue with, like, what party has the issue with this? Or you
Uh,
just do it?
The adjacent property owner that makes
Okay.
use of those parking spaces
Okay.
is concerned about their
Mhm.
customers
Yeah.
clipping the sign.
Yeah, makes sense.
Fair.
I will tell the board that I have zero problem with letting them take the sign down and maybe going to them, similar to the lighting package that we're gonna try to move forward with, and trying to talk them into being good neighbors and possibly putting some stripes on there the next time that they do their lot. Maybe put it into your budget that we would like a lane stripe and maybe some arrows at the end. And we'll give you some time, and next year, maybe when you restripe, keep that on your mind, and we'll let you take that sign down. Almost like a bartering system.
Do you want us to explore relocating the sign for DPW?
I mean, is there a better spot?
Really now.
And where would you put it, like, next to that tree?
Yeah.
Until that tree grows?
Yeah, you'd end up across the sidewalk,
Exactly, put it,
over another 2 feet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be further out of your view.
We better off putting a big one right across the street.
Okay, all right. We don't want to do that one, that's for sure.
yeah, exactly. So,
Okay.
So do we wanna make a recommendation to just remove the sign, or does anyone have any other idea?
I agree with Mr. Chair, remove the sign and ask them to be good neighbors
I mean,
and
it's
stripe it.
probably
It's better off, it's in their best interest.
$40 in paint, I mean.
If
it's-
somebody hits their sign, they're gonna get a ding, they're gonna come into them anyway, so.
Yeah, I'll go out there with a spray can next week and put an arrow out there or something.
Please don't.
I will not do that, I don't want the lawyer to yell at me, I'm joking. But, you know, I do think the neighborly ideas might work, because I do think that they've been willing to work with us in the past, and I think we were very accommodating with their plans moving forward and getting them into their new shiny building, and I do think that they will be willing to work with us, so,
I think they're about to do a restripe anyway.
yeah.
So how about a motion from your end to allow the sign to be removed with discretion to city administration to have discussions with the applicant about other solutions.
I will make that exact motion.
Support.
Jake,
Yes.
Robley,
Yes.
Busan,
Yes.
Hartranft,
Yes.
Lyons.
Yes.
All right. Moving on, commissioner comments and reports.
Mr. Chair, I had something that I wanted to just mention. The zoning ordinance amendments that we, 2 meetings ago, had worked through and kind of were ready to move forward toward the legal review, the public hearing stage. Ellen and I kind of talking together, we're gonna put the amendments in front of the city council at the next work session on September 11th, just to get it in front of them, ask any questions, see if the city council has any questions for us, any suggestions, things of that nature before we would take it to the public hearing. So just wanted to let you know that.
All right. Thank you. I guess it should have been read in communications, but I'll put it under my comment. There is a Downtown Day giveaway, September 27th, it's Saturday. There will be one winner for tagging people in their photo of supporting Linden businesses, and all the hashtag information's on the flyer in our packet. Share it with your neighbors and friends, and let them enjoy their businesses that we have in town. Anything else from any other commissioners? Hearing none, it is 8:01, and I will adjourn the meeting.